Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Samantha Russell from 20 Over 10, and today we are so pleased to have Kyle Moore joining us. Can you see and hear everyone good, Kyle?
Hi, everybody.
So thank you. So Kyle is going to talk with us about building a business, financial planning business, really from the ground up today. And I know there are so many of you who want to hear from other advisors more frequently about how they're doing this. So we are excited to share lots of tips and tricks and feedback that he has shared with us, with all of you today. So as we're getting everybody signed on, and there are quite a few of you, this was our highest attended or registered webinar ever. You beat the record, Kyle. I think 600 people about signed up. So no pressure. So we will go ahead and launch some polls as everybody is joining. And if you don't mind, everyone, just take a minute to answer the two questions. The first is just, how did you hear about the webinar? And the second is, what are you most excited to learn about today? So that will just help us get a sense of where people are coming from and then what we should spend the most time talking about. So a few housekeeping items as well that I will go over. Again, I know a lot of you signed up. Some of you don't have the full hour, or you may have something else come in while you're on. If you need to leave early, or you're not paying attention the whole time, the webinar is being recorded, and we send out both the slide deck and the recorded presentation to everyone who registered after the fact. So you will have those resources available for you. And if you have any questions that you want to direct privately to me or Kyle, you can do that through the Q&A box. That Q&A box through the Zoom control panel will only be seen by us. If you have alternatively a comment that you want to share, or something you just want to say that you're willing to let everybody on today see, that's where you would use the comment box for the little chat feature. So again, we want to make this as interactive as possible and give Kyle lots of time to answer any questions. So feel free to ask throughout the whole time we're talking, and we will get to as many of them as we can. The raise your hand feature, we will not be unmuting anyone, just because, again, there are so many people on the call today, it could get a little crazy. So if you have a question, make sure you type it in and send it over to us that way. Okay. While we have, it's 1 o'clock, or I'm sorry, 3:01, 1 minute after, so we can go ahead and get started. And thank you everyone who has answered the poll. So I'm excited to see, and let me just share this with you guys. I'll share the poll results. We had one person who found out about this on Instagram. So Instagram's a new place that 20 Over 10 is spending some time. You can find us there, and whoever that one person is, you'll have to comment and let us know, because we're excited to have one person who found us there. So the most chosen answer, what you're most excited to learn about today, is the marketing tools that Kyle was using. And the next biggest choice was how to rank higher when someone is looking for you, looking for an advisor. So we will spend ample time talking about all three of those things, but that's good to know what your top choices are. So again, welcome everybody who is here. One other thing that would just be really great for Kyle and I to see is to know who we're talking with today. So if you wouldn't mind, in the chat box, letting us know how long you've been an advisor, and if you're currently operating independent or as part of, affiliated with another organization, BD model, what your background is. That will give us a little bit of insight on who's on the call today. So you can just add that right to the chat. And again, that will help us get to know our audience. So I'm going to switch over while you're all going in and introducing yourselves and letting us know, and make this full screen. Okay, great. Thank you everyone for telling us your background. I see lots of people who are independent, who've been at this for a while. So welcome to everyone, and glad for us all to get to know each other. Okay, so I'm Samantha Russell, the Chief Marketing and Business Development Officer here at 20 Over 10. I know many of you are 20 Over 10 users of our websites. If you're not familiar, we offer a digital marketing platform that offers websites, content, blogging, landing pages, everything you need to grow your business. You can follow me. I'm newly active on Twitter, which is new for me, but it's at Samantha20, or LinkedIn. My handle is just Samantha C. Russell. So I love connecting with people who are on the webinar and hearing in real time what you found most useful or what other topics you'd like to hear from us. So please reach out and connect with me if you haven't already. And joining me is the man of the hour, who you all really want to hear from, Kyle Moore. So hi, Kyle.
Howdy. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here. Hopefully I can share something useful for people today.
Definitely. And where do you want to tell us where you're joining us from? Where are you located?
I'm in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Wonderful. All right. So let's jump right in. So today we're going to learn how you can use local SEO and some of the strategies that Kyle used, both niche-based SEO as well as local SEO, to generate leads for your business, and what it takes to rank on the first page of Google for local queries. Also, when you're going independent, how do you build credibility, build trust with people who are just checking out your website when you're not necessarily affiliated with a large organization or brand name? And the way that referrals are different and have changed now in 2019. And then, of course, what everyone wants to know is tools. What tools should you be using? Can you be using? What's Kyle using? And of course, because so many of you are 20 over 10 users, if you stay on towards the end, we will hop on to the 20 over 10 platform to show you how to make real changes in real time regarding SEO and also your bio page. Some really interesting things you can do there. So let's dive right in. Kyle, tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey as an advisor.
Sure. Well, I graduated college in 2008, and I played golf in college and thought I was good enough to try to make it as a professional. It took 4 years to realize I wasn't good enough to make it as a professional. So that's why I'm a financial planner now. So I basically, towards the end of trying to make it out onto the PGA Tour, I started looking at other options, and I realized I wanted to help people, but I also wanted to do something intellectually stimulating. I kind of started to have a personal finance interest around that time. So that's really where it started. Then, fortunately at that time, my wife started working as a nurse. So I had a little bit of time. We didn't have zero income. We had some income. So I took some time to just explore what I wanted to do. So I called anybody who would be willing to talk to me. And, further and further, I started realizing I wanted to go into this profession. I was interviewing at all the wirehouses and whatnot, and, getting into their training program. They really, liked someone like me who had a good network and, a good family and things like that. They looked at me and essentially thought that I could bring in business, but honestly, that scared the crap out of me. I didn't want to do any sort of business development because I didn't know what I was doing. So fortunately, I found this sort of fee-only RIA part of the industry, and got hired by a great who just needed an associate, didn't need someone who needed to bring in any business at all. So I know business development requirements. Got essentially the best training that I could for 4 years. Got my CFP. Really felt like I was becoming a competent financial planner. And at that time, one thing led to another, and I ultimately started having people in my network reaching out to me. And figuring, I could do this, I could start my own RIA and do this on my own. So that's when I jumped out. That was in May of 2017 is when I got registered and started Quarry Hill Advisors.
So just a little bit about 2 years ago, just over 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So you were 4 years with another fee-only firm and then went independent.
Exactly.
Okay. So talk to us a little bit about when you officially went independent. Did you have 0 clients? Did you have a few? How many did you have?
I was really fortunate that, the firm that I left, there's great people, and they weren't trying to stick it to me, and so they really accommodated me very well in terms of transitioning some of the people who I was working with there that, were only working with the firm because of me. So I think it was about 6 clients that came with me, about 32,000 or so of recurring revenue. So I had a little bit to start, but it was definitely a leap of faith.
Yeah. Not a ton, but at least a cushion.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk next about this two-pronged marketing strategy that you have and how you went from the 6 clients 2 years ago to, what did you say? How many do you have today, approximately?
About 50 clients now.
50 clients now. Okay. So that's a lot. That's a big jump in 2 years, right? So when we had talked previously, you mentioned to me that there was two things, and he didn't say I have a two-pronged marketing strategy. We put this together, but he said, there's two things that I've really done, which is getting clients through referrals, which a lot of you are familiar with, but then also using niche focused marketing on a national level, and then local search to get clients just who are doing searches online. So we're going to dive into both of those, because even your referral process, I think, is really interesting. It's a little bit different than maybe what some people are used to. But could you start by maybe just telling us, okay, day one, you got this new practice. How did you go about, what are some of the very first things that you were like, okay, I got to take care of this in order to launch this business appropriately when it comes to marketing?
Well, I mean, the most important thing is obviously marketing from day one. You need to get revenue in the door, or else you're going to close up shop. And so for the 6 clients who came with me, they are people who I'm close with and who believed in me. They obviously believed in me enough to kind of make that leap with me. One of them in particular, and it's obvious too that I need clients. So I didn't have to ask for clients from them, because they knew that I needed them. And they were very much involved in my thought processes between the time that I decided to leave and when I actually left. So, they knew what I needed. They believed in me, and I was able to add a lot of value to their lives during this time. And so that's sort of what started the referral process early on. And that was the main thing that I wanted. I wanted to hit, personal network first to see if there's anyone I could help there. And then the longer term play was really the more, marketing and SEO work.
Okay, well, good. So we'll dive into both of these, but let's start with the SEO. So again, SEO, everyone, stands for search engine optimization. So what we're talking about here is optimizing your website using the right keywords and phrases that people will be searching for online, so that you show up when they're doing a search, right? So we went back, since we've worked with Kyle really from the beginning on this journey, we went back and looked at what happened in terms of traffic from when in May 2018, when we did our SEO package where we helped him set some of this up, versus now. So in a little over a year, what kinds of results? So you can see here on the bottom, and this is for a 3-month period. So he had 5.8 thousand clicks into his website from straight searches online, versus 9.5, so almost double in just about a year, right? So that is a huge, huge increase in the number of people that are just doing a search on Google and then clicking into his website in 1 year, right? The difference that 1 year can make. Impressions is talking about how many times is his website even showing up for those relevant terms. So your website, even though you might be a financial advisor in St. Paul, Minnesota, when you first launch that website on day one, most likely Google's not going to rank you when someone searches for a financial advisor in St. Paul, Minnesota, because you're a brand new site. There's nothing reputable about you yet. There's no other websites linking to you. It takes a while to build up what's called domain authority. So that quarryhilladvisors.com, the name of his website, in Google's eyes, has got some domain authority, some expertise in the subject area. So that's where you can see the total number of impressions improve, right? So when he first started and someone does a search, financial advisor, St. Paul, Minnesota, he's not going to show up that often. But over time, you get some links back to your website. You get mentioned in media, which is links back to your website. You update your website regularly with blogs. You're going to show more and more. So again, here, he more than doubled the number of times his site was showing up when people were searching for a variety of key terms. Now, click-through rate is how many times when your site is shown versus how many times somebody actually clicks it. That's your click-through rate, right? His click-through rate did go down a little, but we would expect that to happen as your site, the more total impressions you have, the more your click-through rate will go down, because you're just being shown a lot more. So statistically, you're not going to capture as many. So he still has a very, very high click-through rate on average. Anything more than 2% for a search term is considered to be good. That's really great. And then for average position, it stayed about the same overall. But if we were to dive deep, which we will here in a minute, for certain search terms that he wants to rank for, his position went way up. So the number one thing that we want to think about when we are wanting to rank high is what kind of content do you need to have on your website and on your blog to rank well for those positions. So Kyle, when you were first setting up the Quarry Hill Advisors website, did you go into the process knowing, I want to rank for these certain terms? Like, did you have a list of terms that you wanted to rank for?
Yes. I mean, I did on a local level. I wanted to be findable, for those people who are around here who are looking for what I'm doing. I wanted to be, the person that they found when they searched for it. But this blog post that you have up here was something that I stumbled into a little bit. I just started blogging about different situations that I've come across that, clients were reaching out for, and, maybe expertise or niche specific situations. That really kind of opened up to me the world that is possible with this type of marketing, in terms of getting all these visitors from around the country for a single issue, and then getting phone calls based on that. It really opened up the power of this type of marketing to me.
So you wrote this blog post, Can Capital Gains Push Me into a Higher Tax Bracket? And then you've actually had clients reach out to you just because they stumbled upon this blog post.
Yeah, I've had, I had a prospective client in New York City, one in, just got off the phone with one in California who is, $2 million. They're going to take a capital gain hit on a rental property that's being sold. And so that's what, triggered them to find me. Someone in New Jersey, someone in another person in California, I guess. So yeah, it's pretty powerful. Those types of people, it's a little harder to convert them to clients, because, you don't have that in-person trust, but you do have the expertise trust from them, because that's how they found you in the first place.
Right. And we're going to talk a little bit, because I know you told me some things you'll do, even recording videos and things for people who might be interested in being a client. So just looking at these numbers here for everyone, I want you to think about this. So since Kyle has written this blog post about 2 years ago, it has been clicked on more than 8,000 times, just people searching online. It has gotten 72,000 impressions. So that's how many times it was shown. And that's where we get that average click-through rate of 11%. That's huge, huge, huge. So there's actually things about his blog posts that aren't what we would be considered even to be perfect. So we're going to talk a little bit about them here, because he did do a lot right. But, and I kind of teased him about this before. I said, can we show people what we would still change with that before you change them? But his blog post is only about 500 words total, the current one. And you know what, while we're talking, I will just pull that up so that everybody can see it. So that's under blog. And if we search capital. So, he's got an image here at the top. One of the top things he did right was he positioned this as a question, right? So when we think about what people search online, instead of writing how the capital gains, tax can push me into a higher tax bracket, or thinking about it being very long, you want to think about what would somebody search on their phone who has a question like this, or what would they say into their phone talking into it, right? So using that question format is really, really key. And I don't know did you know that going into it and when you were writing this, or is this just sort of how it came to the top of your mind?
It was a little bit luck. It was just the question I got from a client. And so, that's where I started. And, it's sort of informed a lot of how I approach this movie. Yeah.
Okay. So a couple other things that he did. You can see here where it says like capital gains and ordinary income tax. This is called a header tag. So he's got these header tags that break up the text so that your eye can scan and look for the area that you are most interested to read. But additionally, any words that you put in these header tags will signal to Google that this is also what the page is about. So it gives more prominence to these keywords. So words like Roth conversions, retirement, capital gains at 0%. That's going to signal to Google that this page is about those keywords much more than anything you just stick here in the paragraph text, right? The blog post has got a ton of information packed in here, but a few other things we would change. At the bottom, there's no real call to action. What should you do next after you read this post, right? So we told Kyle, you could add something in there like, want to learn more about how I help executives with financial planning, or, do you have questions about your own, taxes for this coming year? Whatever the case may be, book a time on my calendar. A prominent button that you can add down here at the bottom, which is really easy to do in 20 over 10's platform, to make that, what do I do next? Because we're all busy and we're all in the mindset of let's get the information. And unless someone tells us what to do next, we don't necessarily do anything else. We just get the information, right? So that is one of the things we would suggest. The other thing is the length. So if I go back here, if you look at it, it looks pretty long. It's about 560 words. The highest ranking blog posts in Google, the ones that will always be ranked at the very top, are almost always about 1,800 to 2,000 words. So almost triple, quadruple the length of this. So if you ever have a really great high performing post like this one, what we suggest to someone like Kyle is go back and add as much more information as you can. Add imagery to it, add links to other sources, anything you can do to beef it up so that you make it even longer, and you will see a boost as well in how high it's ranking typically. So this was a great blog post. This is a great example of how blogging can really, really actually generate leads and give you some thought leadership. But these are also just some things that we would do to make it even better. And Kyle, we will be helping you make these changes after today's session.
You better.
So in this same thing, and I'm sure Kyle, you kind of have seen this happen, we looked at his analytics. And so you can see these are the pages that people started on, and then this is where they went next. So more than any other page on his website, people were finding him through that Can Capital Gains Push Me Into a Higher Tax Bracket page. And then the next places that they went was either to his financial planning page or his about page most often, which is really great, right? So what you can use your Google Analytics to do is help you figure out where people are landing and then where they're going next. And if you want to change that path for them, again, you can add the call to actions, add the buttons to change it. But you can also look at the pages they're naturally going to and edit those pages to capture even more of them, right? Kyle, do you have on your, I know you said you've looked at your analytics before, but talk to us a little bit, once you started to kind of recognize that a lot of people were finding you through this, this blog post, was there anything you changed about your website or added more blog posts or links or anything to capitalize on that traffic at all?
No.
That's a fair answer. And see, you're still getting a lot of leads from it. So
yeah, I think that's worth noting. The effort that I've put in is fairly minimal. I mean, it's not, it hasn't taken a ton to get to this point. And I think that should be encouraging to those who are on this call, is that it's not a really high bar right now. There's a lot of old advisors who don't know anything about the internet, and it's easy to separate yourself when it comes to this type of stuff.
I'm waiting for the comments to come in. I'm that older advisor that doesn't know anything. We're here to help you. So
I mean that in the best way.
Yes. So here, for everybody wondering about local search, so that is one blog post, right? And anyone in the whole country can find that. But the interesting intersection is what happens when you're already ranking high for a long, we call this a long tail keyword, by the way. So Can Capital Gains Push Me Into a Higher Tax Bracket. That whole sentence together is considered what we call a long tail keyword. It's just a fancy way of saying instead of the keyword financial planner, it's a long phrase that you want to rank for. So he has this one blog post that's long tail keyword that's ranking really well. But then what starts to happen is, because you're getting so much traffic for something like that, and Google starts to see you as an expert in this financial matter, when people start searching for other things that are related but not the exact keyword, you're going to get a boost in your ranking there as well. So you can see here these keywords like financial advisor, St. Paul, Minnesota, or sorry, I don't know why that. Go back there. Financial planner, St. Paul, Minnesota. Financial advisor, Minnesota. His position from 2018 to 2019 continued to creep up, right? So in 2018, he wasn't ranking at all for financial advisor St. Paul. But by 2019, he was in the almost the very top of Google for that search term. The second one, he went from a 4 to a 3, and the bottom one, he went to the 31st result all the way up to the 10th result. So that's a huge, drastic increase, right? So can you talk to us a little bit, Kyle, about locally how your website performs, or, you know, people that you hear from that are just local looking for someone?
Yeah, probably the most amount of new clients I've had is from local search. So, and I want to set expectations for other people too. You know, I'm in St. Paul, Minnesota, which it's not as big as Minneapolis. You know, Minneapolis is probably more traffic, but St. Paul is going to have more people searching for this than if you are an advisor, you know, located in Podunk, Nebraska. You know, this is just not going to work for you if you live in Podunk, Nebraska. But then, you know, maybe you might want to look at more niche focused marketing, which we can get to. But, you know, for me, it's led to a lot of people who found me, and I had a CEO of a you know, almost $1 billion company. He reached out to me and he said that he just searched, you know, he didn't want to go through for anything like that because some of the stuff he was dealing with was confidential. And so he just, you know, he just searched financial advisor St. Paul or financial planner St. Paul. And that's how he found me. So it's very powerful. You know, you don't need that many impressions to get someone to actually reach out to you. As you can see, the impressions is still not a lot of people that are actually clicking on me and going forward. But, you know, if 33 of them click on my site and then 5 of them reach out to me, well, that's 5 more prospective clients than you probably have gotten, you know? So it's definitely worthwhile. And, you know, on the local level, especially if you're in a major metropolitan city, it's helpful as well.
I love that. I think, you know, there's so many people who will still think there's nobody who's got $1 billion or is, you know, this mega ultra high net worth investor who's just going to go do a Google search. But at some point, they're going to do the Google search. Even if they get the names of 5 people and then do the Google search to vet them, they're going to go to Google to vet people. Really? But there's still a lot of people that really are, we've all been conditioned now. When we need to find something, we just go online to look it up. We don't always just ask our friends, and especially what you mentioned, like a confidential issue like that. But I think to your point about the number of impressions, one of the things that I really want to drive home for people is exactly that. If you look at this last column, 33, 36, 587, the total number of people, the total number of searches that his site showed up for these terms, that's not a huge, right? We're not talking about thousands, but the idea is the people searching for those, they are highly, highly interested prospects, right? They are searching for an advisor in their local area. You want to rank number 1 when they're doing those searches. So you can see some tips we have here for how to do this. You want to have what we call a title tag on every single page of your website. You want them to be 50 to 60 characters long. And if you want to rank more locally, so the formula is always primary keyword, and then secondary keyword, and then your company name. So you can see here, this is a screenshot from Kyle's back end. His is set up to say St. Paul, Minnesota, financial services, Quarry Hill Advisors, right? So the primary keyword is St. Paul, Minnesota. The secondary keyword is financial services. And for you, it might be financial planning. It could be investment management, whatever it is, hourly planning, and then your company name. I know so many of you are going to ask, so I just want to show you right now how you can do this in your own website. So if you come to any of the pages of your website, you're a 20 over 10, first you have to have a 20 over 10 website. So if you don't, get one. But if you are a 20 over 10 user, you come here, click on page settings, and then right here, browser page title, that's where you're going to put it, right? So every single page of your website has this browser page title. You don't want to go create one and then copy and paste it over and over again. You want to have unique page titles for every page. So the first one might say, you know, Key West Financial Planning, Russell Wells. The next one on your About page might say something like Samantha Russell, Chief Financial Officer, Russell Wells, right? The services one might say Financial Planning for Entrepreneurs, Russell Wells. So each page is going to have its own unique browser page title, but you want to include the location in your home page title. I hope that makes sense for everyone. Any questions, certainly let us know. Amanda's continuing to answer them in the comments as best she can. Someone is asking, if I live in a nearby suburb of a larger city, can you include that suburb in your site, or the larger city, which would have more competition? So there's two different trains of thought there. What I would definitely suggest is, like, we do a lot of sites where we'll say serving clients throughout the greater Chicago metropolitan area. And then in the title tag, which I just showed you, the initial part might say something like Chicago financial planner. So, you're not going to write Chicago metropolitan area, but you would just write Chicago financial planner. Most people assume you mean the greater area. If you're like an hour away, that's a stretch. I know in Chicago, someplace could be 2 miles away and an hour away with traffic, but you get my point. If it's truly really far away, you don't want it to seem like you're trying to trick people, because Google will end up penalizing you for that. So keep the questions coming. I love Jeremy, who said he is in Podunk, Nebraska.
Somebody
So,
would be.
I knew somebody would have to be. If your firm has multiple offices, there's a separate strategy that you'd want to use for that. And I think we have a blog post about that. If we don't, Amanda, if you want to, whoever asked that question about multiple offices, if you email marketing@20over10.com, we can send you more info. But you basically want to set up landing pages for every single location that you have that will include information about each of them. So that's the strategy. We can certainly share more about that. And then how to separate these. There's no 100% tried and true way. Some people use commas. We like this like straight vertical line just because it's a nice, clean way to make that separation. From a Google standpoint, I don't think it matters too much. You can use a hyphen or a line to do that. Okay, so let's keep going. Oh, just real quickly, because a lot of people are asking this. If you are on a website platform that is not with 20 over 10, unfortunately, you can't use the 20 over 10 SEO tools because those are baked into our website platform. So you would need to be a 20 over 10 website user in order to use those tools. If you're on another platform and you like the way your site looks and you just want to move it over to ours to manage the monthly subscription and hosting, we can certainly work with you on that. So definitely connect with us through our contact page. All right, so let's move on to the next one. So I can stop talking and Kyle can chime in some more here. So the meta descriptions, which are what people see underneath your site when they search for you. So I'm just gonna pull that up, Quarry Hill Advisors. So you see here where it says Quarry Hill Advisors is a fiduciary, fee only, sorry, I have too many things blocking my screen, financial planning and wealth management firm in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota, right? That is the meta description underneath the page title that you would click. You want to think of this as ad copy. You want to put the keywords in there that you want to entice people to click on, but it's not really going to 100% affect your SEO in the sense that Google won't rank you for what's in your meta description. So you can really use it as a place to just convey your personality. So if Kyle wanted to get even more executives and corporate business owners, he could change it to say something like, is a fiduciary fee only financial planning firm focused on corporate executives or helping corporate executives, right? So you can change what you put there to get the people that you want to click on it excited about working with you. Did you draft this, Kyle, or did we help you come up with it?
I don't remember. You guys probably helped me with that.
Okay. I just wondered if you had ever thought about that. So even like if you look at his contact us page here where it says we'd love to work with you with an exclamation point, right? It doesn't need to be contact us at this. These meta descriptions are your place to just make a connection, make somebody want to click your result over the other ones, right? Like here, you can see under the XY financial planning result, I started Quarry Hill Advisors with the goal of elevating the standard of financial planning. So that sounds very nice. That's a good one. So if you haven't taken a look at your meta descriptions, that gray text under what, your website listing, definitely look at them and think about how you can edit them to capture even more traffic. So again, if you want to know where to edit those, you would go back to that same place in the platform under page settings, and you're just going to scroll down until you see SEO. And then this is where you put the description. So you can add anything you like there, really. But again, think of it as ad copy. So that is where you go to do that. And that's 120 to 150 characters is the amount that you can add there before it gets cut off. So just a few other things. The click-through rate on all of your, sorry, I have so many panels, guys, on all of your keywords has definitely increased as well, right? So even just that first one, when people are searching for a financial advisor in St. Paul, it went from 0 clicks to 9%. That's a huge, huge difference. So I think another thing, and I wanted to ask you about this, is just the idea of just like compounding interest, compounding ROI when it comes to marketing over time. So can you talk to us a little bit about from when you started to now, you know, the amount of interest or leads you get coming in through your website?
Well, it's continual. Well, it's a long story, but it kept getting more and more over time. And so I had to make some changes in order to, you know, kind of slow down.
Okay.
50 clients doing comprehensive planning over the course of 2 years is a lot. And so I was feeling like all I was doing was onboarding new clients, and I wanted to make sure I slowed down and take care of existing clients. And so I made some changes to my website to try to screen people out. At that time, I was doing one-time comprehensive plans as well. So I took that option off the table completely. I may add that again in the future because I did get a lot of people who, you know, wanted to get their feet wet. They didn't want to hire an advisor. They didn't know if they wanted to hire an advisor right away. And so it was a lower barrier of entry for them to just have me do a plan. And through doing the plan, they realized, oh, wow, this guy really knows his stuff. And I can see the value of hiring him ongoingly. I never thought I'd, you know, be able to pay X amount of dollars, or I'd be willing to pay X amount of dollars for financial planning, but now I see the value of it. And so, but I had to put the brakes on that for a while. And so my actual amount of people who've been scheduling introductory calls with me has gone way down in 2019, but the quality of those has gone way up. So each one, whenever I get one, when I see it in my inbox, I know that it's going to be most likely a qualified person, someone who I'm trying to work with.
So just to reiterate, is there anyone on your staff helping you to serve those 50 clients?
I have Aurora. She's my client service associate, so she acts as a support. I also have someone else who I pay he's an independent contractor, but he does a lot of financial plan development for me, but he's not a full-time employee.
Okay. I was going to say, I wondered if you were actually doing all 50 by yourself. I was going to say, that's really impressive. That's good that you have a team. So you mentioned the hourly planning that you had, and I know this is something a lot of people will ask us about. So just ask a few more questions about that. So you're saying you used to, when you first got started, and you know, you got those 6 clients, to drum up even more interest, you had the option for people to do an hourly or like a one-time project-based plan with you. But do you think that also, because you were independent, helped maybe people just feel like they could get to know you without committing and, you know, going on? Like how do you think that has impacted business?
Oh, there's a lot I could say about that, because when it's just you know, someone goes to your website. I really wanted a website that would wow people, so I appreciate all your help with that. I also wanted, you know, different things on the website that would help people gain trust in me, establish my credibility. But yeah, I think as an independent advisor, you know, there's other advisors, especially, you know, fee-only wealth management firms down the street who, you know, they've got, you know, 10 or 20 people. I needed some sort of differentiator. And so there's a lot of people who I think weren't quite ready to just hand over their $2 million to someone to manage. But, you know, they wanted someone who might be able to, you know, do something in between to kind of test it out. And so that really did create a lot of credibility with those people individually. There was low enough barriers of entry for them along the way to actually get in person, and for them to see that, okay, this isn't just some young guy in an office. He actually knows what he's doing, and he can, you know, really add value to my situation.
Right. Yeah. And we're going to talk about credibility next, but I just wanted to bring back up your homepage. I think the things right here: reduce taxes, optimize investments, achieve financial freedom. There are so many people that are coming at it with that tax mindset. So having that right there is great. But also, of course, you have the fact that you're in the Twin Cities throughout the website from a location base. But then talk to us a little bit about this. And congratulations, by the way, on being listed as a best financial advisor in St. Paul in 2019. Yes, hooray, hooray. Have you always had this as featured in, and how did you go about maybe getting some of these media mentions to add credibility?
Yeah, so I would basically respond to any and every media request that came in through, whether it's XY Planning Network, NAPFA, FPA, or whatever it was, Harrow, Help a Reporter Out. I just wanted to, send, I've always enjoyed writing, so I'd send, kind of punchy responses that I think might be quotable. And wanted people, when they come to my website and they go to that Meet the Team page or the About page, and it's just this one guy, I wanted there to be some additional factors on the site that might enhance credibility than just them saying, oh, this website looks nice, but it's just this one guy. I thought it was going to be some, bigger firm. But when you have these types of publications that add to your credibility, then I think people are more likely to reach out. And that's what they're looking for. Prospective clients who are looking for an advisor, they are looking for different points that will help them make the decision that they know they need to and want to make. And so, there was also, an SEO factor of some of these, asking these journalists to backlink to my site. Some of them do, some of them won't. But at least having this on my homepage is, I think, a big credibility booster for most people who kind of land there.
Oh, absolutely. And for all of you, if you ever do get quoted by any media source, asking them to link to your website from your bio, or like if they're saying, Kyle Moore of Quarry Hill Advisors says, and then they have the quote, and then linking Kyle Moore of Quarry Hill Advisors. When you get a link from a CNBC, a Wall Street Journal, one of these huge, well-known websites to your little, small business website, the power of that one link is the equivalent of getting 100 links from 100 different little sites, because these sites have what is called high domain authority. Google looks at that like the Wall Street Journal is vouching for Quarry Hill Advisors, right? They're linking to their site on an article about something to do with financial services. So this guy's site at Quarry Hill must be really reputable for financial services. So that is why getting these media mentions is so powerful, especially when you can get that backlink. So again, having them link from whatever they've quoted to back to your website is a huge boost to help your site rank better in the future. It's not just that you want the people reading the article to click it, but the power of that one link will boost your search engine result ranking so substantially. And Amanda just linked to a really great blog post we wrote called My Firm Got a Press Hit. Now what do I do? That has a step-by-step guide for you all to take. Really suggest bookmarking that one. So hopefully you can all get some hits. And Kyle also mentioned Harrow, H-A-R-O. If you're not sure where to start, you don't have any connections in the journalist industry, you're not part of NAPFA or XYPN or one of these organizations where journalists will go to and then they source the leads to their group. You can sign up for Harrow, and it's truly called Help a Reporter Out. Reporters go there and they will look to source, quotes from different people. And so you can then respond to any of the ones that you think could be a good fit. So that's a great resource as well. We use that at 20 over 10 all the time too. All right. Sorry, go ahead.
In that strategy when I got quoted in the Wall Street Journal, I actually have gotten a client from getting quoted in the journal, not through web search. So they read my quote in the journal, and they saw that I was from St. Paul, which is, a half hour from where they live. They reached out to me, and, and they're, have a portfolio of about $4 million, and there's probably another $4 million that's coming over too. So there's a lot of power in that too. That's probably a little bit more rare, but that can happen.
Yeah. It just takes one to make it worthwhile.
Right.
So these are the overall strategy. I bypassed 2 slides quickly. Just one thing, if you're trying to wonder, I saw some questions like, should I use financial advisor, financial planner? What's the best search term? you always need to start by setting up Google Search Console. Once you set up Google Search Console, that's where you'll get all these stats that you see here in the green and the white. You have to set that up. If you need help, if you're a 20 over 10 user and you need help with us to set it up for you, we certainly can help you with that. Just contact support. But once you do that, you also want to set up your Google My Business page. I've talked about this on a lot of other webinars. We have a full blog post about that as well. And once you do those two things, then you'll be able to see how many people are searching for different terms, how you're performing locally. So you have to do those two things: set up Google Search Console and Google My Business. So these are just the recaps of things we suggest you do to have success like Kyle. But I want to switch it now over to the referral side of his two-pronged approach. So we talked about SEO. Let's switch gears and talk about referrals since we only have 20 minutes left. If you are a 20 over 10 client, you're using our websites and you need help with SEO, you're like, you guys are going through this too fast. I don't know what I have to do. I want you to help me. For $800, you will get our immediate help to take care of these things for you. So it's worth it. I know, Kyle, you did that, right, with us? You can see the proof is in the pudding. It's not an ongoing fee because ongoing fees are not what you guys need. You just need someone to help you take care of the basics initially. And then all you have to do is blog every once in a while to keep your site ranking high. So this is a great deal and a great package. And you can certainly contact us if you want us to help you with that.
And
okay.
I would say too that a lot of, there's a lot of industry experts out there who are charging, one that I consider they're charging $200 a month, I think, for SEO work. And so that's an ongoing commitment. And, the fact that that's a one-time $800 package, that's more than competitive than what else is out there.
Thank you. Yes. And like you said, you spend that money up front, the amount that you can get in return from just one client is huge. Mm-hmm. So we just talked about this, about, getting media mentions and how this can help really prove credibility. But can you talk to us a little bit about the different membership organizations that you're a part of and your thought behind joining them and maybe how that contributes to getting referrals or new business?
Well, I think the way I approached it starting out was I want to do whatever it takes to get people to find me, no matter how they're searching. So if there's a way for me to put my profile on something, I'm going to pay money to put my profile on something. I don't care what it is. I kind of see it as money well spent. So the more places that have higher domain authority than my site that can link to my site, the better, I think. And so, NAPFA, that's a great organization if you are fee only. There's a lot of people who build businesses by just getting NAPFA referrals. A lot of those referrals can be people wanting hourly work. So if you don't do hourly work or you don't do project-based work, it can be less. But in where I live, if I were an hourly advisor, I could probably make a living if I just did NAPFA and was a Garrett Planning Network member. I could probably make a good living just doing that. XYPN, another one, FPA, CFP search. I've had prospective client referrals from each of those, except I don't think I've had one through FPA. I may have, but I've definitely got one through the CFP search, XYPN search, and NAPFA. So any avenue that you could join. Fee Only Network is another one. I think they might have changed the name of that recently, but I've gotten a prospective client through that too. Chief technology officer of a big company here. So the not only do they provide credibility, but they also provide avenues for people to find you. So that's, like I said, that's the way I approached it from day one. Was here I am. at the time I was 32. Now I'm 34, but I look like I'm 24. I'm not, I need to do whatever I can to get credibility from these people. So it's, gaining the confidence and then putting out this image of myself, getting a nice office space. I'm very aware of kind of the image that I project because I realize this is a trust-based business and I really need to start earning trust in these people's mind right away, or else they won't take whatever next step it is that leads to becoming a client. Great.
No, that is really helpful. So one of the things that you mentioned to us that you do when it comes to referrals, so many people are, how do I ask for referrals, or I don't want to beat it over the head with my clients. So when we were talking, you mentioned some of the subtle, tactful ways that you remind your clients that you operate and you take referrals and that they help. So you had mentioned this annual report that you put out and how you sort of subtly, use that to remind people. Can you talk to us a little bit about this?
Sure. Yeah. So I am not a salesperson. I hate to make people feel uncomfortable. I don't ever want to be direct in asking for business from anybody. It's just not the way I work. So I'm always trying to find tactful ways of doing that. One way with existing clients, I recognize that, I'm a small firm. A lot of those clients kind of are taking a little bit of a flyer on me, right? Hoping that I stay in business. And so anything that I do, like getting a bigger office space and whatnot, I have clients commenting on that constantly, like, oh, look, things must be going well. You got this new office space. Oh, things must be going well. You hired this person. So those things are all confidence instillers in my clients. So I started doing this annual report. I got the idea from XYPN and their annual report that they issue. But I sort of made a firm annual report for myself. And it's really just a way of saying, hey, things are going really well for us. We're doing great work. It's being recognized. Here are the ways it's being recognized. And thank you for you can see right there in the national recognition page. Thanks to our growing online presence, clients moving across the country, and for your referrals of friends and family. So it's saying, people are doing this or referring people, and it's sort of just a tactful way of saying, we're growing, and thanks to you, that's happening. And in my client letter, I kind of go along those lines too, where I say, a lot of this growth is real, and recognition, it wouldn't be there if it weren't for you. And so for that, we'll forever be in your debt.
I love this idea. I love, you mentioned, so you have a small staff, you don't have like a marketing team and all these people internally. And so you told us you just use Canva, which for those of you not familiar with Canva, they have so many great free resources. We put an example here, how you can go on and just choose an annual report template. You can create your own. They have social media templates, email templates, brochures, events, anything. How much time did it take you to put this together? Like the first template, which I know you can use year after year, but.
Yeah, I mean, it probably took a day or two or so. It's about 6 or 7 pages long. I wrote the letter. I made this whole thing by myself. I'm not a graphic designer, but Canva makes it really easy. But if you have an eye for design, which I think I do, that's kind of why I'm a 20 over 10 client, because I noticed you guys have that same eye for design. It really gave me the tools to create this report in a relatively short amount of time. Now it's just updating it each year. There's a lot of fun content in there for clients. It's like a timeline of what my year looked like, the vacations I went on, when I hired somebody, when I started interviewing, when I did a webinar. So all these things that show clients that, in different initiatives, like how we're improving service, here's all the things that we started, and that we're in order to deliver more value to you. So it's in a way reminding them too of all the work that I'm doing for them.
Well, I love that. I hope that helps everybody think of, kind of a very subtle way that you can talk about referrals. But one other thing I just wanted to mention, when we spoke before this, when we were prepping, you mentioned, one of the ways that you really got referrals and that you got lucky is that you had one client that was really helped evangelize. Well, he was the evangelist for your brand, right? So he, right. You were able to spend a lot of time with him up front when you had the time. So I know we're running out of time, but that's just something I want to remind people too, is that if you're just starting out, spending a lot of time with the clients that you can initially up front, who will then talk about how great you are. So again, I know we're kind of short on time. There's so many questions to get to, so I just want to go quickly through a couple of these things. One thing I just want to mention, so many people will still tell us, I don't need an up-to-date website. It doesn't matter. Even after they hear us listen to Kyle and talk about all these people that just found him online, even if somebody is not finding you through SEO, they're going to be checking out your website as part of that process, right? So here I just have 2 quick examples that I went to Facebook and searched recommendations for a financial advisor, and these were posts that came up from people. This woman's posting to a community group in New York. This person just put it in her network, and you can see this one had 31 replies. This one had 31 replies of people saying, check out this person or go look at this person. You can notice most of the time they're not tagging the company. So you might not ever even know this is happening. They're just saying, oh, go look at this person. This is the digital shift in how referrals a lot of the time are happening today. Someone asks their network for, a plumber, a contractor, an accountant, an advisor. They get a list of names. Do you guys think they're going to go and look up all 31 people, call them on the phone and say, hi, I'd like to talk to you and interview you? Hell no, no way. They're going to look up their websites. Maybe they'll only look up the websites of the first 10 that get commented, or 10 of the people that they know the best, those recommendations. Maybe they'll only look up 3 websites. We really have no idea. But the point is they're going to go online pick a few to vet, and then they're going to want to make contact as immediate as possible. And those that get back to them quickest are the ones that they'll have the best shot, right? So are you ready to get referrals to your website this way? A few things that I highly suggest you do. Make sure your website is mobile friendly. You can go to Google's mobile friendly test, stick in your URL, and it'll tell you if it's mobile friendly or not and how it looks on mobile. If your site's not mobile friendly, you're on another platform, you can certainly migrate to 20/10. And part of our process is we make every website mobile friendly. So that is very easy. You also want to make sure you have an online calendar, easy for people to just book a meeting with you, so that, you know, if they're getting this list of leads and they go to your website, they don't have to email you and then wait a day for a response or an hour or whatever. They can just book a time and you're now on the list of people they want to check out. So make sure you have a calendar link. And then the last point I really want to mention is being memorable. So many advisory sites are boring. They're just boring, you guys. And if someone's getting a list of 5 people to look at, right, you want to be one of the ones they remember. So how can you do that? I highly suggest using your bio or your team page to do this. So here's an example of a firm, right? They have this dog that sits in their office, and their clients always comment on how cute he is. And so they have Jake, the chief morale officer. And if you hover over him, there's a little bio that pops up about what kind of bones he loves. And people love animals. Animals perform well on ads. They perform well on anything you can think of, social media posts. So if you have like a furry friend or a fluffy buddy that you want to add to your website, that's a really fun way to do something like this to show some personality. Another great thing you can do is in 20/10's website app, we have what's called hover state photos. So on any photo on a website, if you hover over it, a new picture can show up. So here we have everybody in their suits. And when you hover over Jeff here in the screenshot, you can see in a Pearl Jam shirt, he likes to kayak. He's got his hat on. If you hover over Joe, you see him in his hobby clothes. If you hover over Lori, I think she's holding like Starbucks and yoga gear. So each person's showing their personality through their bio page. If you want to know how to do that within the 20/10 platform, if you go to your team member page where there's the manage members, you just click on that. And then for any individual person, once you open them up, you will see over here in the right-hand corner where it says member photo and then hover. This is the second photo that you can upload. And so now once somebody goes to your website and they hover over your photo, that other version of you will pop up. I've seen people, at Christmas time, everyone has a Santa hat on. You can do lots of really fun things with this to just show some personality and be memorable. Kyle, I noticed in his, meet the team page, if you maybe don't have professional photography or you don't feel comfortable doing that, make your bio more interesting. He has this really fun thing about when he was a professional golfer, and he says, well, I don't conduct client meetings on the golf course. I'd be happy to take you out as friends and play you for the money, right? So just showing your personality through your bio, through your website, to be the memorable person that sticks out when people are looking at a bunch of websites. Kyle, do you get anybody talking to you about professional golf when they come in the door?
Every now and then. Yeah. I wish I had more golfer clients, but no.
So the last thing I want to go over, and then we have a few other things just to mention, is your recommended tools. So we talked a lot about Google My Business, Google Search Console. You use a 20/10 website. Can you talk to us a little bit about, and you told us about Canva, can you talk to us a little bit about Loom and SEMrush?
Yeah, so for Loom, that's just a meeting that you can recap something that you had, on a prospect call or something like that, or an initial meeting. I just did that yesterday, actually. New client, $5 million, company IPO. They live in Maryland, outside of, they're not local. But after our meeting, I just recapped it in a Loom video and sent it with some material so that they had something additional and something personal also. Try to do as many personal things like that as possible, especially for people who are not local. SEMrush, that's just a good way to look at what are people searching for in this area. If you're trying to come up with keywords to start targeting, that's a great way to start doing it. To say, okay, what are people searching for? And once you have those terms, then you can use that to inform your content strategy on your site.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Canva is just trying to create very appealing visual things for people who aren't local and people who are local. Before they meet with me, I send them a Canva bio where it's not a professional bio, it's more of a personal one. So it shows, I basically say, in these meetings, we spend a lot of time talking about you, and sometimes we forget to talk about me. And so here's just a little bit more about me, and favorite wine, favorite, memories, different things like that, where they just get a little bit of a personal introduction to who I am. That's really powerful for people who aren't local too. So those are great tools. Zoom is what I use for, for video conferencing. That's what we're doing right now.
So that Canva, it's like a picture of you and then basically some facts about you and what you're into. That also could be talking points when you first meet with someone.
Yeah, sometimes people will bring that up. They say, "Hey, I noticed you, you like going fishing on this lake. That's where I go." Things like that.
Yeah, that's such a fantastic idea. Anything you can do, again, to build that rapport, like you said, someone's handing over their life savings to you. How do they get to know you and make it feel more personable?
Mm-hmm.
So we want to make sure that we answer any questions that you all have, and I've seen them all coming in, and for anyone who can stay on a little bit later, we can stay on a couple extra minutes to answer them. But again, final tips: think about going above and beyond for your initial clients. Think of subtle ways you can remind clients to give you referrals. Get media mentions to boost SEO and show expertise, and use video. You can use recording devices like Loom to record video and send it off to people to recap meetings or just to remind them about who you are. A few other things I just wanted to remind everybody. Again, if you want to connect with Kyle or me, Kyle shares a bunch of really interesting things and it's fun to follow on Twitter. That's his handle. Mine is Samantha20, and then there's both of our LinkedIn pages. I try to share tons of information that's helpful to advisors when it comes to marketing their business. So definitely do that. And we will have a webinar next month by popular demand. This is probably going to be our most requested topic, which is, can you guys help me use an intern to market my business? So many people ask about this. What should the intern do? How do I hire one? What do I have to pay them? Do you have a guide or a handbook I can hand them over of saying, like, do this on this day, this at this week? So we are going to create this for you. For everyone who registers and attends, there will be a PDF download that will be something you can hand over to an intern that will teach them, what they need to do over the course of the month to help you with your marketing initiatives. And it'll be something real and tangible you can use. We are looking right now for advisors who've used interns in their practice, who maybe have some interesting tidbits to share about what not to do or what's worked well for them. So if you'd be interested in talking to us about that, we'd love to hear from you. If you want to drop us your email or email marketing@20over10.com. You can also just put your email in the chat box and we'll reach out to you to get more info from you. But that is August 29th, and the link's already on our webinar page. So you can sign up there. And now we'll go through the questions. Any questions we don't get to answer now, we will email you the answer. We record all of this, questions that come in through marketing@20over10.com. But let's go through some of them. I don't know, Kyle, if you saw any specific ones you wanted to answer.
I wasn't really looking.
Okay, so we can both go and look through. Someone was asking, can you get links to all the tools, resources, and things like that we mentioned? Yes. So when we do the webinar replay and recording, we put it in a blog post, and then we'll have links to Canva and Loom and all the other tools that we mentioned. So definitely check that out and you'll be able to get it.
I see that my wife's Uncle Gary was on. Hi Gary. I wonder if you're still on here.
Hi, Gary. Thanks for joining us. That's so nice. Family support. Gotta love it. Somebody asked if your firm has a main website, what do we suggest about having a separate website and services linked to it? So yes, if you are an advisor that's part of a larger firm and you're trying to build up your own book of business, especially if you have different clients that you target, maybe separate than what the firm would put on their homepage, maybe you'll take people with a lower AUM, to start. That would be a great idea. Or maybe you really like working with certain employees of a certain company and you understand their benefit packages, having your own separate website that you can market is a great way to do it if you're able to, and just link back to the main company website. And then when you do eventually want to go independent, it's a lot easier too, because you've already started that process with marketing. What other kinds of questions? Oh, somebody was asking if it matters if you used, PA versus Pennsylvania or IL versus Illinois. I find that the state, the 2-letter abbreviation for the state works just fine. So that should be fine. Let me go back here. So someone was asking again about the browser page titles. So the browser page title is not your page title. You can see here, the title of this page is just home. The browser page title is how it appears in Google. So if you change this to Key West Financial Planning, that's not what it's going to say on your website. It's what it's going to say when someone searches you on Google. So that is the big difference there. If anybody is interested, again, in talking with us about moving their website over, if you go to 20over10.com, you can actually schedule a call with one of our reps, a 30-minute call where they'll go through your current situation, what it would cost to be a 20over10 user and how that would work. Or you can click on contact and all of the contact information is there to send us an email, call us, anything like that. So definitely feel free to do that. So I think most of the questions were answered by Amanda, hopefully. And a lot of...
I just answered a couple there, I think.
Okay, great.
I'm kind of forgetting what they were. One of them was sharing my annual report. I'm happy to share my annual report with anybody who wants it. You can just email me, Kyle@QuarryHillAdvisors.com, and I'm happy to send that to anybody who wants to see it.
Awesome. Thank you, Kyle.
And then for managing my marketing leads and pipeline, I just add people as an opportunity in Wealthbox who reach out to me, and I have different stages in the Wealthbox opportunity tab. And then as soon as I add them as a contact, they're automatically added as a contact into Wealthbox, and then that goes into my email list too. That's really all I do. Okay,
wonderful. Well, thank you all for joining us. I know that there was lots of questions that came in that Amanda was answering in the background, so thank you, Amanda, for helping. We wouldn't be able to do it without her. And Amanda's actually the one who leads up our SEO team, so she is our SEO specialist here, so you'd be working with her if you have questions about SEO. But in the meantime, we will send this out to everyone. Thank you so much for joining. If you found it helpful and there was a specific piece of wisdom that you thought was great, or you just really liked hearing from Kyle, or if you have ideas for a future webinar, certainly let us know. We love hearing from all of you, and it really helps us come up with topics for future webinars. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Kyle, for joining and sharing all of these nuggets of wisdom with us.
Happy to do it. Yeah, and I'm happy to chat with anybody else who has follow-up questions. A lot of people have helped me out along the way, so I'm happy to pay that forward.
Thanks, Kyle. All right, everybody, enjoy the rest of your week.